this summer bee wreath. All the supplies came from Trendy Tree, and I'll give you the list and we'll tell you how to do it. Okay, let's get started. Our supplies for today are 2 raffia and paper bees. And you can just bend those wings. We're probably going to use 2 of those. We have some paper mesh in the black and white check. It's 10 inches in width and 10 yards in length. It is paper, so you'll have to be careful where you use this, and it does ravel. We've got 3 different styles of ribbon, some bumblebee, some burlap chevron, and some polka dot. And we have some jute flex tubing in the fresh green, and then we have a fresh green work wreath. The first thing we're going to do is cut our paper mesh into 10-inch lengths. We're going to cut each piece into a 10-inch length, so you'll have a 10 by 10-inch square. We're going to experiment with some spray adhesive and some Mod Podge and some different things to see if we can help reduce this raveling that occurs with paper mesh, and we'll show you the results of that when we finish this wreath. I have some pieces that are drying now, and we're going to test some products and see which one works best. But you can always work your wreath, create your wreath, and then spray, if this works, spray the wreath with one of these products before you start decorating your wreath. I believe I said we would use 3 layers of ruffles in each twist, but I think we're only going to need to do 2. We'll just check that as we go along. I did want to take this time to show you the difference between a pencil wreath and a work wreath. They're the same size. The only difference is the size of the twist. This is the work wreath, and this is a pencil wreath, and the twists are about the size, the diameter of a pencil. And also on these wreaths, this is called a 24-inch wreath, and if you measure from here to here, it's just 15 inches. But with the addition of your twist, your burlap, polymesh ribbons, and so forth, you wind up with a completed wreath that's like 24 inches to 30 inches in width, just depending on the product that you put in it. But it is called a 24-inch wreath, but it measures 15 inches across the largest ring, and it's about 12 inches across that center ring. To make your ruffle, you just take your piece, your 10 by 10 inch piece of paper mesh, and you lay it down. You want your selvage edge on the outside, and you just scrunch up through the center, gathering that up, and you make a little ruffle. It kind of looks like a little bow tie. And then we're going to start on the outer ring of the wreath, and we're just going to take that ruffle, put it in the twist, and just give it just a turn for right now, because we're going to put 2 layers. We take another one, selvage edge on the outside, and scrunch up through the center. Make your second ruffle. Now you want to open this twist and lay that second ruffle right on top of the other one, and then just give it a couple of turns. And you can see this is causing some of the raveling from the paper mesh, and we'll have to clip these strings at the end. But we're going to work all the way around that outer ring, putting 2 ruffles in each twist. The mesh has a natural tendency to curl up. Just gather that up. And when you have your finished ruffle, you want that curl to be just like it was here, kind of to the inside, cupped up sort of. There's our wreath after we've gone around the outer edge with 2 ruffles. Now we're going to start on the inner ring and put 2 ruffles in each twist. I'm down to adding my last ruffle, and I wanted to show you. Sometimes you might get a wreath and the twist has slipped it's gotten loose, and this won't really hurt anything. Just put it into the position where you need it, and by the time you put your ruffles in, it won't hurt that the twist was loose. Also, on a 10-yard roll of paper mesh, technically you should be able to get 36 pieces. Occasionally you may only be able to get 35, or you might get 37. If you only get 35 pieces, you can always just take a ruffle out. You can always take a ruffle out from the outer edge and maybe move it to the inner edge, or perhaps where you're going to put your focal point, like this bee or something like that. You might take one of those ruffles out if you need to put a ruffle over here, but you won't ever notice it. At this point, we have 2 layers of ruffles in each twist, and you can see it has caused some strings to come out. And what I'm going to do right now is just stop, and I'm going to clip these strings. I'm going to clip them rather than pull on them. Of course, sometimes they'll just fall out, and you can't help that, but I'm going to clip what I can, and then I'm going to spray the entire wreath with this product. It's Mod Podge. It's a clear acrylic sealer. We're in the process of testing 5 different products to see which might work best to help stop the raveling. And this one dries quicker than the other, so I'm going to start with it first. I'm going to try it first and see how it does. And you can use this and just see what you think about it. But this came from Walmart. Okay, I put some plastic over my table, and we're just going to take the Mod Podge, and we're going to just try to spray each individual ruffle on the edges. Well, it's hard to just spray on the edges. You're going to spray all the way around. So I'm just going to spray the bottom layer and the top layer as I go. And try to lift out these ruffles a little bit so that so they don't stick together. Of course, we'll generate some strings just while we're moving these around too. And you could just spray your 10 by 10 piece first before you put it in the twist. But I'm using this product because out of the ones I'm testing, it dried the quickest. So I want to try it and so I can finish up my wreath. Now, after you've gotten your wreath sprayed, you might want to just go back and just kind of separate those ruffles a little bit so that they don't stick together. Of course, you might find a place that you missed. After your wreath is dry, the next thing you want to do is sort of figure out where you want to place those bees. And you could do them different ways. I'm just going to kind of angle these. They're made of raffia, and they have this little wire on them. Of course, their legs are wire, and the wings you can bend, but they have this little wire, and you can take that wire and use that to attach directly to your work wreath frame. And just position them where you want to. You might want 2 on one side, or you might want to do them facing each other. So just any way you want to do that. I always like to test my ribbon length before I cut my ribbon, so I'm just going to use a scrap piece of ribbon that I have. I cut a 12-inch length, and I'm going to go ahead and chevron the ends. And to do that, you fold the edges together, and then you fold them again, and just cut on the folded side. So when you unfold it, you have a dovetail or chevron on each end. And then you just take your ribbon and pinch it up in the center. And you can start on any twist, but you do need to undo the twist and lay the ribbon down and then twist it back. And that 12 inches I think is going to be just about right, but it's always good to just do a test ribbon before you start cutting up the ribbon that you're going to use for your wreath. We have 3 different ribbons that we're going to use on this wreath, and we'll just start cutting some strips and see how they look. I always start out with a ribbon pattern in mind, and I hate to say it, but every time I do, I always wind up changing it. So, you know, you can cluster as few or as many ribbons as you like. All these ribbons are wire edge and have 10 yards to the roll, so there's more than enough ribbon to go with as much ribbon as you'd like on this wreath. And then we're also going to use this jute flex tibbing and make some loops and add that in with our bow. The main thing to remember about your ribbon is if you stack your ribbons, you want to use the narrow on top of the wide, and you want to undo your twist all the way down to your ruffles, secure your ribbons, and at this point you can twist your twist 3 or 4 times to finish it off. So I'm just going to experiment with some styles. I'm going to lay this bumblebee down on top of the polka dot and just pinch them both in the center. And then I'm just going to start on the inside. Undo the twist, make sure your ruffles stay in place, and lay the ribbons down. And then this time, if that's all you're going to add, you can secure it 3 or 4 times. I'm not sure yet, so I'm just only going to twist it a couple of times till I decide if that's all I want in that cluster or not. And then I'm going to take this chevron ribbon and I'm going to do some of the jute flex tibbing and just make a couple of loops. And just pinch that ribbon together and have that flex tibbing right on top of that. And then I'm just going to go to the next twist. Just gives it a little more texture, and that addition of that green helps pick up that green in the wreath. Of course, if you don't want your twist to show, you can always tuck them to the inside. I think that I'll alternate this some, and I'll put the bumblebee on top of the chevron, and then still maybe put some of the jute flex tubing. I think I'm going to want that bumblebee ribbon in every cluster. And you might want to make your jute tubing with 4 loops instead of just 2. It just all depends. Once you secure it, just kind of fluff out your ribbon a little bit. And you might want to use a cluster of all 3 kinds of the ribbon. Okay, there's our wreath after we got our ribbon strips. You want to take your wreath from the back side and push those ruffles out toward the front to open up that center. Of course, we'll clip those strings when we're done. And now you're ready to attach your bees. And like I say, you can use these little wires on the bees to attach them to the work wreath frame. And you have enough left of your ribbon if you wanted to make a bow. We use the bumblebee ribbon in every ribbon cluster, so you have more left of your polka dot or your chevron, the burlap. This is very stiff ribbon, and I love the way it works in for ribbon strips, but it's pretty stiff to tie a bow. So I might just create a bow using the polka dot and maybe put the bow like in the lower part of the wreath and maybe put both bees at the top, but you can just do that any way you want to. You might not want a bow, but just position your bee and attach it using those wires to the work wreath frame. Sometimes I have to learn things the hard way, but I had said you could attach the bee to the wreath using these little wires. It also has these little wiry legs, and what I have found is when I would try to put my bee down in the mesh, it's just tearing the paper mesh all to pieces. So what I did on that first one was just curl that wire up kind of out of the way, made a loop that I could thread a zip tie through, and then secured the zip tie to the wreath form. And you may have to just bend those legs up and out of the way a little bit. Don't bend them too much because they might pull off. But between these little spiky legs and that, it was just tear the mesh apart. Well, there's our wreath after we finished it. We put the two bees opposite of the bow and secured them to the work wreath frame using the zip ties. Now, I believe the Mod Podge spray that we did help with some of the raveling with the paper, but I believe this other product, this Elmer's Craft Bond spray adhesive, is going to be even better. So what I'm going to do when I finish is go back and respray the paper mesh with this adhesive and see if that helps. It measures about 26 inches in width. Be sure and look at the back of your wreath and make sure you don't have any sharp edges or anything sticking out that might scratch your door, and just turn those to the inside or cover them up with a little piece of tape if you need to. We hope you'll visit us at Trendy. We have lots of wreath making supplies and all kinds of tutorials. We have everything from deco mesh, all different colors of work wreath, and ribbons. Okay? Look us up on Facebook and Pinterest and follow us along. And please subscribe to our channel. There's a little icon at the bottom of your screen where you can click to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss our next video coming out. Okay? Thanks for dropping in. Bye-bye.